welcome to our webinar. We're going to be talking about Beyond the Diagnosis, Educational Planning and Therapeutic Development at Home. This is co-hosted by National Care Advisor and then Apex Social Group, which is what I'm a part of. Kristen will talk a little bit later about her role with National Care Advisors and her piece of educational planning. But I am going to start with the therapeutic development at home. So Apex Social Group, we are known and trusted for empowering families through consistent high quality care. My background, I was a special education teacher, director. I actually found Apex Social through trying to find resources for a family. Didn't know something like this existed, was even an option or even out there for families. I immediately fell in love once I heard what we are doing and joined the team. I am the partnership director. So my role in the company is connecting the pieces for families. So we do the live-in care, but we need to make sure that all the care team pieces follow through, that we're able to bring some of those therapies that are in place and kind of mirror that back in the home. And we've seen kids just reach developmental milestones that we've never thought were even possible. Mom and dad wrote it off. And so this is truly much more of just babysitting. It's developmental childcare and therapeutical help within the home. So the Apex difference, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but we've been around since 2008. Parents around the world have trusted Apex Social Group to unlock their children's greatest potential through integrating skilled professionals and a cultural exchange experience into their families' daily life. So an important piece of how we recruit and who we're recruiting is we have relationships with about 500 universities throughout Germany. And so we're building connections with recent grads in OT, PT, special needs education, pediatric nursing. These are very, very motivated, passionate individuals that come over here and make a difference. It's also a huge learning curve for them. So fun fact, in Germany, an OT, PT, special needs education degree is equivalent to an associate's degree over here. So they still have that background, understanding, and experience, but they come over here really eager to learn. So they're jumping in with the family. They're shadowing the OT, the PT that's in place, getting their feedback, and then reinforcing that back into the home. So we just really see this whole child approach, and kids just absolutely thrive with this kind of model. I know it's different hearing it from me than an actual family. So I am going to share a little video testimonial of a family.
My name is Amanda Sharp. I'm a board certified behavior analyst and in business development. He was born regular, no complications, and then around like 19 to 20 months, we started recognizing global delays. And so after that, we had him tested in California. He was diagnosed with full autism spectrum disorder. And it was scary. It was really scary.
So before we had any CPs in here, any help, it was just us. So there was me and my wife and our daughter, a 15-year-old daughter, trying to take care of a growing boy who requires 24/7 care.
Before I had a CP in my home, I was my son's caregiver and keeper and mother and manager all at the same time. I didn't really have a lot of freedoms to be a wife, have more professional time or experience working, and be a mother to my daughter.
It's been really nice having the CPs here. It's a lot easier, I want to say, for me to be like take a second, breathe. So having the CPs here has been more of a oh, I can step back and I can watch him grow as a person instead of just my little brother.
Mandy was able to find our care professionals through Apex. and they showed up, and things changed a lot. We're able to have freedoms that we previously just couldn't have.
Quality of life has increased in several different avenues. That starts from the small little things of being able to take a bath all the way up to I haven't been anywhere with my husband alone in 2.5 years.
So as care professionals with Hayden, we help him in his everyday life. For example, getting ready in the morning. We make sure that he eats his breakfast before he goes to therapy. For his lunch break, we make his food for him, and we just spend time with him so that he can relax. And on the weekend, it's a little bit different, the routine, because he has no therapy. So we go outside with him a lot and play games, watch movies together. He has some schoolwork that we do with him. It's called Equipping Minds. And it's just a tool that we use for him to develop more like his school level. For example, he has some cubes and he puts the colored cubes on the colored arrows. It's good that we can use tools so that we have more of a connection with him too.
We make some schoolwork with him, and then it's lunchtime. After lunchtime, so yeah, he likes very much jumping on trampoline and swinging. So we're going to the goats, to the brown bench in the front.
I'm really part of the family, and we eat together every evening and we do things together. So I'm really thankful for that.
Anybody that uses Apex will not only get the help that they need, but they'll also kind of get the relief that knowing that, somebody's there that actually cares, and there's consistency, and they will stick with you through the hardest times because they've already proven it.
Having care professionals from Apex are not just for your child. It's for your family, and that's that sense of well-being really is that's what you gain from.
Hayden, are you happy? Are you happy with Micah and Celine? Okay, yes or no? Okay, we'll see you soon.
I love watching that video. I feel like I always talk about the big difference that care professionals make, but I think that just fully shows that it's much more. Like, they want to become an extension of your family. They want to get to know your child so deeply, watch them thrive, be their biggest cheerleader alongside you. And so I feel like there's no kind of experience like someone that's lived it to talk about. So what makes this different? I feel like I chatted about this a little bit, but we only accept care professionals that have a career path and experience and a drive to stay in this field in healthcare, therapy, or education. OTs, speech, we have pediatric nurses, mental health, social workers, physical therapists, ABA backgrounds, all of those that really have that experience and drive and willingness to work with children that have disabilities. So those are typically the fields that we are recruiting for. And we also require them to have a minimum of 400 hours of documented childcare experience, background checks. We check all their references. We do an onboarding and training before they come. And what's also really unique about us is we call ourselves the true matchmakers. But there's another piece of someone living in your home. So everyone on our inside team, our families, and our care professionals all take personality tests. I think when I first joined the team, I was like, this is really silly. Why am I doing this? But I was put in a position and team for a reason. And I really saw that come to light. So when we're in matching, when our care professionals and our families are in matching, taking that personality test is really important to us, and we require everyone to do it. So, a care professional that is on paper everything you're looking for, but is really introverted, and your family loves to travel and go out and do things, it's not going to be a good match for the the long run, right? So we want to make sure in all the areas of your life, this care professional is going to fit in and be the very best fit. So what also makes us very, very different and sets us apart is we have an Apex individualized care plan. So everyone on our inside team too, I forgot to mention, comes from a background of some kind, some sorts of special education. So we have BCBAs, I have my master's in special education. We have OTs, PTs. None of us are in the field practicing. But I think once you step foot in this field, none of us ever want to leave. And so something that we want to do and make sure is expectations are set and that we're meeting those expectations. So another buy-in piece to our care professionals is writing a plan alongside the therapist, alongside the family, alongside our team to come up with different milestones and developmental goals that are measurable, that this plan can be guided by. So when we're doing monthly check-ins, a yearly check-in, we're making sure that there is developmental milestones and goals that are attainable and reached during that time. So something that is important is that these are attainable, right? If a family is like, well, tomorrow I want my child walking, and they've been an OT for years and years, we want to make sure that these are realistic expectations that we can set and follow through in with measurable goals. So this is something that we have tracked throughout the years and made sure and just have backed by statistics that we're doing what we're saying. I think you can say all the great things, but if you're not actually following through, that doesn't do anyone any well. So meeting critical developmental needs, the AICP, which is the Apex Individualized Care Plan, provides personalized care, ensuring each child's unique strengths and challenges are addressed effectively. So there's a lot of tailored strategies that support growth across communication, motor, cognitive, and social emotional domains. So I have seen such an important piece of partnerships is a whole child approach. I know I keep saying that, but it is so important. If we're not on the same, having the same communication with the therapist and making sure that we're working on the same things, reinforcing that back in at home, it's detrimental to a child. So we really want to make sure there's communication across all those pieces. Collaborative care equals stronger outcomes. So the care professional becomes a core member of the child's care team, working in alignment with therapists, educators, and families, regular coaching and monthly updates to ensure strategies remain evidence-based and adaptable to your child's progress. So we're not just going to meet once and say, okay, let's follow this plan and hope it all goes well. In this field, there's a lot of pivoting, there's a lot of changing, there's a lot of coaching that happens with care professionals. So we're really an intimate, we want to know what's going on. We want to see what can be done differently. And this, I've seen just work wonders on a child's development. So supporting milestone achievement with focused goals and track progress, children are more likely to meet developmental milestones. The AICP helps families and professionals recognize early signs of progress or challenges, allowing for timely intervention. So having these meetings and these follow-throughs have been really essential for, like I said, a child's development, and we've really seen that over time. So this is our process and all our dedicated teams. So we really wanted this to be a step-by-step help for a family. We know how challenging, I see it every day, it is to find someone that you can trust, is dedicated, and has a background to care for a child that does have special needs. And so we have little mini teams that help a family along each part of the way. So the first step is you would meet with a family advising team, and they just kind of get to know your family's needs, understand what you're looking for, see if live-in care even is the best fit for you. And then if all those pieces align, you will have a matching specialist. And so that person's really going to get to know you again as a family, see what would be the best fit in a caregiver. And they also know every one of the care professionals that is online. We have the opposite problem that a lot of other people have in this space as being an educator, is we have so many care professionals online excited to make a difference with the family. And so we want to kind of narrow that candidate pool down for families so they're not interviewing 60. That can be very overwhelming, but instead interviewing 5, 6, 7, and then picking the best fit out of that pool. So we're really there to help guide that process and what that can look like. After that, once you get a placement and your care professional is in the home, you would have a ACD, which is an Apex Care and Director, who is going to be your local support system. So they're going to check in with you monthly. They take the care professionals out once a month. They're on call 24/7. So anything that comes up, they're there to support and help you, and they're local, which is amazing. So if you need them to show up today to kind of help, or if anything comes up, they're going to be your go-to person. And then we have an educational and therapeutic resources team. So this is where I come in, our AICP team, which is comprised of a lot of us. So we're really there for ongoing support. So what resources can we connect you to? How are things going? Let's write your AICP plan. Are we on track to reach these goals? What else can we do? Who else can we bring in to help? So we're really much more than just live-in care. We're there to support you, your family, your child, all of the above. But this is where partnerships like National Care Advisors come in. And we want, as much as we would love to be the expert in all things, we're just not. And so we like to find those people that we can trust and fill those gaps for families. So I'm really excited to pass it over to Kristen from National Care Advisors.
Thank you, Carlee. Yes, so I am Kristen Sabo. I am the Director of Education Services at National Care Advisors. What we're going to be looking at right now is really beyond the diagnosis. You heard Hayden's mom say that they were enjoying their baby, and then all of a sudden they got this diagnosis, and it's scary. Fast forward to school age, and it can be even scarier navigating the education system. And where do we even begin planning? So on my team, we are a group of education consultants made up of school psychologists, educational diagnosticians, administrators, special education teachers, board certified behavior analysts, and we at least all hold a master's degree. As Carlee had mentioned about the Apex staff, is we are a group of professionals that feel strongly and passionately about helping individuals with complex care needs, and really specifically diving into the school systems. We have all worked for school systems throughout our careers, and just are at the point where we want to hit up this learning from a different angle and really working with the families from a consulting perspective. So next one. National Care Advisors as a whole, we have found our home here because of our NCA's mission. What you'll hear across our company is that a goal without a plan is really just a wish. So if we have these goals, what are the steps that we're going to take in order to make that goal a reality? And just like with everyday real life, how are we going to pivot when we reach barriers? So that's what NCA is all about. Finding those goals, identifying them, and coming up with practical solutions so that we can reach those goals and make them a reality. So NCA is a national consulting firm with a mission to provide individualized life care planning, case management, and education consulting in all 50 states. So we are throughout our country. We do also have some work overseas. So don't let that stop you. If there is a need, we certainly definitely do not go outside of our scope, but we have enough knowledge within NCA that at the very least can point you in the right direction and make some connections for you so that, again, you can reach that goal. Our founder, Ann Kerner, she developed National Care Advisors in 2008, so very similar to Apex. It is owned and managed by nurses. So I have been with the company for a little over 10 years. And I joined in 2015. Prior to that, the nurses were doing all of the educational work, which they were doing a great job. But as our client pool grew, we found that there was a specific need for more of that expert perspective and understanding in maximizing school-based services. So I came on to NCA in 2015, working the whole country, which was wonderful. But thankfully, I now have a team of 9 consultants throughout the nation, all supporting our clients. We focus primarily, focus primarily on providing services to individuals with complex care needs. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in the slides to come, but that really is our focus. However, that really is a wide range, and we work with a gamut of individuals with all different ability levels. So there's really no challenge too big or too small that we are not happy to have a conversation and brainstorm together. And then the degree of services is really based individually on that complex care need. If it is, a simple phone call, consult, and then carry on, or if it's that more day-to-day. So again, our services also run the gamut based upon that individualized need. Okay, so education planning, best practices. Again, I had mentioned that my team has all been in the education field for a number of years, all master's trained, and have put together, I think, a list of best practices in order that truly helps us reach the families in order to get meaningful progress. Listening and understanding the family dynamic. No 2 cases are ever the same. When I'm interviewing for people on my team, they say, what is a typical case? And there really isn't anybody. No 2 cases are the same. So I really believe strongly that it is a critical component to listen and understand what is going on in your family. We wanted to consider the individualized history and the current needs. Just because this was a need last year does not necessarily mean that it is going to be a need this year. So really listening again and understanding individualized situations. What we want to do, best practices, is when you're looking at your school teams, apply the federal, state, local education requirements to your current situation. So federal guidelines, especially in special education, has not changed. Those specific laws and the rights that individuals with complex care needs, what they're entitled to once found eligible within the school system, that has not changed. Navigating those services and getting the therapies, the specialized instruction, that can be more difficult at different times, right, throughout our history. So, but it's just applying those federal guidelines, which again, we're going to get to in more detail, and then applying them to your individualized states and your local education agencies. We want to engage, you want a team of educational planners that are truly engaging professionally and with the appropriate players. The whole premise of trust but verify, speaking professionally, gathering that information, but knowing who the decision makers are. Navigating barriers effectively to reach solutions that provide optimal opportunity for growth and development. We want to identify what the challenges are, right? But navigating them effectively so you're not fighting just to fight, not just having your voice heard for the sake of having it heard, right? There's that listening component again. It's so critical to be navigating these, reminding ourselves of what is that end result? What are we trying to accomplish? And again, navigating them effectively so that we can be efficient in getting the student, the child, the individual, what they truly need in order to make progress. So more specifically in education consulting, when you are developing a plan for your students, we want to be looking at these 3 main goals: quality of life for all stakeholders, mitigating risks. We want to consider academics, medically, therapeutically, social, financially, all of these components, and putting them all together in a puzzle that fits and makes sense. And then we also want to consider maximizing the services, again, effectively. You'll hear me keep saying that word around. Again, we don't want to just, like Carlee, you said, talk the talk. We want to make the difference, change that lifestyle, overcome those challenges, improve that quality of life. It's all tied together. So again, doing it effectively by finding the practical solutions that make sense without making everybody angry. Again, I think it's important that when you're working with educational planners, you are building that relationship and trusting people who know the school systems. That's why, our team that I work with, I have found it most beneficial because they know what it means to sit on the side of the table as being a teacher, as being an administrator, but they also know what it feels like sitting with the family on their side and looking at that student and putting that student first without having to go through the red tape, right? Let's ask the questions that sometimes different positions that we hold, we're not able to ask. Families, we understand that you don't know what you don't know. So empowering you with that information to truly maximize the service and ask the questions so that you can get answers. Let's really dive in and then using knowledge so that they can tie it all together to find those practical solutions that, again, make sense based on the individual. No two cases are alike. So diving in a bit more to those three components, talking about quality of life. In education planning, you really want to look at the individual's needs holistically. So I just, touched on some of these before, but education, medical, communication, social, emotional, psychological, behavior, mobility. The list really could go on and on, again, because it is individualized. So quality of life is going to be something different for every individual. So looking really at the whole picture and what does that mean? And then considering who are all the stakeholders, right? Who are the decision makers? Who are the people that we need to opine in order for that individual to fully reach that wonderful quality of life that we're striving for? The individual student, just because I want something does not mean that student wants something, right? So what will make a difference in their life? The families. The family is a unit. Again, obviously, every family unit is going to look different. What is going to improve that quality of life for that specific family unit? The school team. Who's involved? Every individual school team is going to look different based upon the needs. Medical providers, obviously, different individuals, different medical providers. Financial advisors, obviously, a critical component. What is affordable versus and just not feasible? What can the school provide? What is coming and happening privately, right? If there are attorneys involved, any third-party agencies, again, Apex, we're working with you guys. How does your staff enter the picture and create that overall quality of life? So really having that collaborative approach, going back to listening, engaging with your appropriate stakeholders, and then developing a plan of action. That is truly, in my over almost 25 plus years of working in the education field, that is really how we are going to get that point of meaningful progress and that success for that individual, really taking into account all these different pieces and fitting them together like a puzzle. Risk mitigation. In schools, anybody who, if you're listening, understands that if you are in the field of special education, an IEP, the Individualized Education Program, is set up just like this. You want to develop a plan, limit setbacks, monitor progress, right? But taking that concept and applying it to all those stakeholders we just talked about. We want to identify specific needs and projected expenses, right? So if we need these services, we need these therapies, how much are they going to cost? How can we sustain this? Will the school system fund this? Do they need it to access their learning? Let's take all these considerations and develop a comprehensive plan that makes sense. And then we're going to actively monitor to prevent costly emergency involvement. I'm always saying the best time to get support to build your team is when everything is going good, right? It can be much more costly to address emergency situations. So that's wonderful. You're off to a great school year. You have a wonderful team. Make sure that every need is being addressed. Make sure that you have an outside perspective who can help you gain that bird's eye view to truly see, okay, this might be coming down the road. You're going to want to look for this. This is the age of development. I heard you're thinking about moving. Is it to a new school system? Is it within the same school system? Let's make sure everything is documented. Having that bird's eye view and getting all your ducks in a row when things are good is the best time to do it. Monitoring progress, preventative engagement to avoid unexpected costs. So when you have that team all set, you have that bird's eye view, you can see down the road. And when the barriers do present themselves, you have a plan. A, B, or C. You have those relationships built up so that it's a simple phone call. Oh, hey, remember we talked about this? It's time to act on it. Remember when we pulled back physical therapy in school because things were going well, but we wrote it in a way that we could increase the frequency or duration? He's in a different school now. I think it's time that we're probably going to increase that therapy again. And then let's monitor it, get him to the point of independence again, and then we can pull it back, right? That preventative engagement to avoid unexpected costs. It's so critical. Maximizing services, fundamental principles of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So IDEA is the federal law. It is not being challenged. It has been reauthorized. But these basic principles, once you have an individual who has been identified as being eligible to receive special education services within your state, these are the federal guidelines that are overseeing. It's that umbrella that all the states have to follow. Now, their implementation of it is going to vary. Based from state to state. They have their own standards, the different local education agencies. And then again, how is it enforced? Once you get the trickle down to the individual communities and schools and areas, what are the resources that are available? But these are the guiding principles that need to be considered once you are making all of those individual decisions. Thorough evaluations. That is the first step to eligibility, and it needs to be thorough. We need to look at every aspect of the individual who has a challenge that might be affecting access to learning, right? And that needs to be evaluated. And then it needs to be a team decision regarding eligibility for the services in schools. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Parent participation. Parents, you are a critical part of your child's school team. You get to have a voice in the decisions under IDEA. So please remember that. Feel empowered to ask those questions, have the voice. Educational planners, they're there to help guide you and prepare you as you enter those school team meetings. Fully understand that when you're sitting around an IEP table, they can be different, right? Based on the players. And it can be very overwhelming. You are there talking about your child and you don't know everything, but you should not know everything. The people at the table are there to support, and it is a discussion. So remember that and feel empowered. A child who is identified as eligible for special education, they're entitled to a free and appropriate education. Free through the public school system, appropriate based on individualized needs. And that appropriateness starts with that evaluation, okay? In the least restrictive environment. So We do not want to send individuals with special needs to alternative locations, alternative placements, without considering what their closest neighborhood school would offer with their general education peers. We want them to go through those steps. They may need alternative placements with specific curriculum, and that is okay if that is what is decided on as a team with all players, with parents. But we cannot just go there without considering the least restrictive environment. We must go through the steps. Individualized education programs. That's the meat and potatoes, right? What is your education plan? It needs to be discussed at least annually with that multidisciplinary team that you create based on that evaluation and the services they're entitled to. But it can absolutely be amended throughout the year. That's where that educational planning component comes in. Things change throughout the year, right? So the best laid plans need to be amended. So know it. It is a live document. It is a legal document, but it is also live and can be changed throughout the year. Procedural safeguards. Parents, you should be offered these every time you meet. It is a thick packet. A lot of them are emailed. You probably have piles and piles of them at home. It is okay to say no if you just got it the previous week, but know that is where your rights are explained. Okay. You can ask for them at any point as well. But these are the fundamental principles, the umbrella of what maximizing education services come under. Here is more specific things that you may want to talk about with your school team or your educational planner. Let's talk about those psychological assessments. What is being attested? What have I consented to? What have you not asked me? Can I ask? Right? Let's talk about what is really being assessed and what tests are being used and why. Assistive technology. What is the school able to provide so that access to learning is more accessible? We're talking about making sure that everything is equitable to the students, not equal access. We want to make sure it is individualized and makes sense to that individual. Adaptive equipment. You do not need, in the public school system, you do not need to be bringing in your adaptive equipment. If your child needs some type of equipment in order to access their education, in order for them to stay in school all day, let's talk to the IEP team and let's add it to their plan. Speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. I know there's a lot of medical-based therapies after school, but is there an educational need? Could we be addressing this in school? And then how do those therapists talk to the medical-based therapists outside of school? Carlee, you mentioned it before. I think generalizing skills, a skill learns in one environment that is not transferred to the home and community serves no purpose. Right? So that goes back to what we discussed previously about having the input from all the different stakeholders, having those school therapists talk to your outside therapists, or even just talking to your care providers, right? This is what is happening in school. Now let's go practice it out in the community so it can change that quality of life. It is such an important parts of progress. And unfortunately, it gets forgotten about a lot, but understanding APEX mission, I think that collaboration, it makes it a lot more fluid, right? And again, that effective approach to that overall program. Nursing. Individualized nursing, if it is needed in school, or not even individualized, if a student with complex care needs a one-to-one nurse throughout the school day in order to attend school, then that needs to be a discussion with your IEP team. And a lot of times all the time, you're going to be needing orders from your medical providers. Again, that holistic team approach, but it needs to be discussed with the school. And it could be, again, the one-to-one nursing, it could be the school nurse, it could be for certain things throughout the day, looking at what that individual student needs and coming up with a plan. But do not let nursing be a reason why a student is not accessing school in the least restrictive environment. Behavior intervention plans. That is a school discussion, right? If there is a challenging behavior, then do we need a positive behavior intervention plan? Do we need to bring on that BCBA in order for that student to stay in school? And when I'm talking student, I'm talking a wide range. I'm not talking elementary, middle school. We have adult learners. We have people in that 18 to 22 program that are still accessing services through the public school system. So is there a challenging behavior? Do we need to teach replacement behaviors? And how are we going to teach them? And then do we need the parents and the, again, Apex, their care provider, the buy-in? How can they support what we are teaching outside of school? That goes into the parental training. Summer programming. Is there regression through long breaks of school? If there is, do they qualify for extended school year? And that is a service through the IEP. Transition planning. Every state has a different age in which it starts. I'm going to say generally around age 14, sometimes age 16, or earlier if need be. What are the living, employment, learning goals for that student? And then how are we going to step by step help them get there? Throughout, it takes years, right? There's services out there for adults, but there's wait lists. So the sooner you start, the better. We need to have that long range, that long range perspective of what is the quality of life down the road going to look like. Let's start now and get there. Find those steps to get there. And again, we'll amend it as we need to. Transportation. Don't let lack of transportation be a reason why a student is not going to school. Are there certain accommodations that are needed in order to get to and from school safely? Let's talk about it as a team. Okay. Additional considerations: community-based instruction, safety plans, accessibility, curriculum, progress reports, report cards, billing. Schools can bill Medicaid for health-related services in school. These are all things that should be considered and discussed with your school team. Having an educational planner there who knows what your child's strengths are, what their needs are, and then applying it to this list really helps aid in the success, right? And that relationship with your school team. Let's have a professional to professional conversation. Safety plans, super important. Hopefully never needed, but super important so that they are there and addendums and attached to the school plan, right? What equipment might be needed? If the library is on the third floor and the conversation is, well, we never go to the third floor, we'll just bring the library down to the classroom. No, right? It needs to be accessible. And what is our plan to get up on the third floor? And then what if there's an emergency when we're on the third floor? What is that plan going to look like? Things to consider, right? Okay. So when you may want to bring in support for an educational planner, obviously there are the go-to barriers, right? I'm having a challenge and I can't seem to figure it out and I need support. Know that planners are out there, effective planners, to build that long-term relationship with the school team. I think the best case scenario is where we get in, we figure it out, and then back away and you can have that long-term relationship with the school and you, not somebody who comes in and breaks it apart. The student does not benefit that way, right? So if there's lack of progress, if we're really having trouble communicating, not eligible for certain services, you think that they should be qualifying for speech and language therapy at the school, but the evaluation results, they're just telling them no. Staffing challenges. If they qualify for speech, but there's just no speech pathologist available, needing, again, that outside perspective to help identify those practical solutions so that they can access the therapy. Summer programming. Are they qualifying for it? Are they not? What options are available either way? Placement options. If your child is being sent home from school for challenging behaviors, and they're like, we just can't handle this situation, we'll try again tomorrow. That is a huge flag of, hey, we need to talk about the placement, the classroom. It could be another classroom within the building. It could be another program within the same school system, or we could be looking at alternative placements. Let's have that conversation. What is the best fit so that meaningful progress can be made? Disability documentation, looking at benefits applications. That takes you back to thorough evaluations through the school. We certainly see individuals that are just assessed and assessed over and over again. That's no fun for anybody. Let's do it once. Let's make sure it's thorough, and then it can be used for all sorts of different applications. Relocating. Please look at your school systems. Make sure that your current plan, if you have one, is updated. It is documented. If they're getting anything, it needs to be in writing. Otherwise, they're basically not getting it. So making sure everything is worded correctly, having that outside perspective so that says, okay, well, I know this situation, but that's not how this reads. Rewording things so that when you take your plan, an IEP goes with you to their new location. It belongs to that student, right? Now, of course, there's some idiosyncrasies in there that educational staff will work out, but make that IEP belongs to that individual. Know that, okay? So you want to make sure everything is documented appropriately. If you have changes in medical status, if we need new evaluations because something has changed, that could be another reason to bring in outside supports for a third-party perspective. Transition planning. What comes next? I've had this wonderful school experience or not, but what comes next? Now I'm scared because I've had these people in our lives for many years. And once graduation comes, they're gone, they're out. So what comes next? Again, that starts early. It is never too early to start having those conversations. In the beginning, they'll be broad. Every year, they'll narrow it down a little bit more and show you your options. So types of support, think about, it could be an assessment coming in. Really, it's seeing what is happening right now and then providing recommendations. An assessment is usually a set rate. It's a review of file. It's going back to that listening, seeing what the family's concerns are, and providing those recommendations for next steps. Consulting is more of that hourly, addressing specific challenges by removing barriers. Somebody staying on standby, being available as needed, attending the IEP even just once a year, having that third party perspective. That parent participation, back to that slide with the fundamental principles of IDEA, parents are allowed, I don't like that word, but parents are able to bring whoever they want to that IEP meeting, right? You can invite anybody just for that extra set of ears and eyes. Obviously, somebody with education knowledge and background and how to navigate the system is going to be more beneficial. But again, feel empowered to invite somebody to have support with you. Okay, it is very commonplace and not everybody knows that. Okay, advantages of education planning, professional to professional. I've said it, I think, a lot throughout the past half hour. Third party perspective that is student centered, having somebody who knows the education system and is not trying to work through red tape and is able to keep the student the priority. You have an expert trained in the education field. They're familiar with the education terminology. You know what various options for navigating barriers and able to apply IDA to specific state standards. Consistent communication, best practice for best results. Communication, email, phone call, managing an individual's care when they have complex needs. I don't have to tell you, can be very overwhelming, right? So having somebody who says, I got this for you. I can tell you when there's something that needs to be addressed. Hey, this form is laying out there and we really need to address that. Otherwise, transportation is going to be delayed, right? So consistent communication that is positive and proactive, supporting the whole team. Return on investment establishes a comprehensive and well-documented plan, and proactive advocacy turns to oversight. Right back to that mitigating risk when we talked about that before. It is less costly to come in with a solid plan and get your team together when things are going well. Building that long-term relationship. School providers, you may be eligible for a service, but that service provider can change from year to year. So establishing a long-term relationship from grade to grade, from transition to transition, it's very beneficial in keeping those long-term plans in mind. I think that might be it, Carlee. I think we're towards the end. Yeah, but I am open to any questions that might come in and look forward to speaking with Apex, and we're continuing to work together.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. And thank you for everyone who either joined us today or is watching the video or found this through a webinar or our YouTube channel. We know how challenging it can be to navigate the complexities of getting a diagnosis, and we really partner together and collaborate to help families during that. Even having a background of being a special education teacher, I don't have all the answers, and so having people like Kristen that really can answer some of those questions and challenges that come up. We're so happy to have you guys as a partner. So I will, whether you're, like I said, watching, seeing this through an email, there will be contact information with us at Apex if you're interested in learning more about a live-in care option for your family, or with Kristen and helping through that educational planning and all that comes with that. So thank you for joining us, and we hope to hear from you.